He was never a top student, but everyone followed him, because real leadership can't be graded. Leadership qualities. Concerned parent. We are very concerned about our son. With his grades, top colleges are out of the picture. Headmaster. Don't worry about Richard. He'll do well in life. People like him and respect him. They follow him. Richard is a natural leader. The headmaster was accurate in his assessment of Richard. Recently, he wrote on the questionnaire he completed for me, poor student in high school and college. But he also indicated that he was rapidly approaching decamillionaire status. He is a leader and a very successful business owner and has great enthusiasm for his vocation. He demonstrates a lot of appreciation and empathy for the needs of all his employees, who are paid significantly above the norm. In turn, Richard is well liked by his employees. As a token of their appreciation, they all chipped in and gave Richard and his wife the gift of a European vacation. Yet Richard's life might have turned out differently. What if he'd had a different set of parents and an insensitive headmaster at the prep school he attended? What if they'd told Richard, with these grades, you'll never amount to a hill of beans. With your academic record, you'll be lucky to get a job washing dishes or sweeping floors. Instead, Richard's parents never said such things. They never gave up on him, nor did his mentor, the headmaster. In school, Richard was a leader. In sports and social activities, he was never made to feel inferior because of his lack of academic achievements. Richard is like many very successful people. He got a lot more out of the school environment than was ever noted on his report cards and transcripts. Let's take another case study demonstrating this point about leadership versus school grades. A leader of leaders. You recently completed undergraduate school, and now you are contemplating pursuing a graduate degree. Before you are admitted, you must take the graduate record exam, GRE. Several weeks after you take the exam, your scores arrive in the mail. You quickly open the envelope and look them over. They are not that easy to interpret, so you look at the legend. There are several parts to the GRE. Two major components are the verbal aptitude score and the quantitative score. Other parts include tests in physics, chemistry, biology, social studies, and fine arts. How do you rank? You discover that your verbal aptitude score is in the third quarter, or below average range. Naturally, you are disappointed, so you look at your other scores. Your quantitative score places you in the bottom 10%, and you are in the bottom quarter. For tests in physics, chemistry, biology, social studies, and the fine arts. If these were your scores, would you still think about going to graduate school? What if you showed these scores to a team of guidance counselors or career advisors? They might advise you that you aren't graduate school material. Some might even be bold enough to tell you that you should lower your sights, which is a nice way of saying, you will never amount to much. How many counselors would be likely to say to you, young man, you have extraordinary leadership qualities, great vision. Someday you will change the social conscience of America. You will have more to do with social and political changes in America than anyone since FDR. I wager that you'll say zero, because most advisors judge our futures on the basis of standardized test scores. It's unfortunate that test scores, which take only one day to complete, fulfill their speculations about the next 30 or 40 years of your career. If you believe them, you will spend the rest of your life thinking and acting like someone with low aptitude. Can you imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had spent his life thinking and acting this way? The GRE scores described above were those of Martin Luther King Jr., Ethan Bronner. Colleges look for answers to racial gaps in testing. New York Times, November 8, 1997. PA 8. But he never allowed naysayers to stand in his way. He understood the true meaning of achievement. There must be a balance. Certainly, we all want our children to excel in school, but at the same time we must encourage them to do more, too. Take leadership roles in school. Encourage them to participate in extracurricular and team-oriented activities. If we do this, we can expect to have a greater number of leaders. We will even have a growing population of leaders with both social and analytical skills. I. Nor or. B. E. I. Inspired by. C. Riddick's. What do millionaires tell me about the relationship between their success and how they deal with critics? The majority either ignore their critics or use criticism as an inspiration to succeed. Most millionaires define a critic as someone who makes negative judgments and predictions about other people. Unlike mentors, who focus on how others can improve themselves, critics are not interested in helping their targets improve. In fact, they seem to enjoy watching people fail. It's as if they get satisfaction from watching their predictions come true. Critics are those who have told many a millionaire, "You will never succeed. You lack the intellect to become an attorney. That's the dumbest idea for a new business I have ever heard. There is no place for women in the medical profession. There is just no hope for you ever succeeding. You are not graduate school material. Given your combined SATs of 900, you'll never succeed in college." Those who accepted such negative reviews withdrew early from the economic battlefield, while others discounted the criticism. Many millionaires actually viewed such comments as merely being theories, and they enjoy disproving theories. The really vicious, negative critics have a common trait: their only talent is voicing negative predictions. Often they are jealous of people with real talent, people with the will to succeed. But I find that most professional critics are lacking in the same quality. They can't stand other people criticizing their views. So what do they do to ensure that they won't be criticized? They play offense. They aggressively and offensively criticize those who are or will be successful. It's one way they enhance their own status, like playing judge, jury, even God. Most self-made millionaire business owners can tell you a lot about critics. They've had their loan applications turned down repeatedly, and, in their minds, loan officers are critics. They tell applicants that your business will never make it, yet they don't offer suggestions on how to improve the business. But what great power it is to lend other people money. Consider what one self-made multimillionaire from Oklahoma once told me during a focus group interview. It was Friday morning. I had to make payroll for my employees by 4:00 p.m. that day. I went to the bank that I have borrowed millions from for years. They put me in a room with yet another new loan officer. This 30-something guy proceeded to tell me that my business was under review. Had to get some updates. All these years, I never missed a repay. Then he took over an hour telling me about his latest ski trips to Vail, Aspen, and Steamboat. He went on and on, while I'm there worried that I can't pay hundreds of people. Yes, he made payroll that afternoon, just barely. But needless to say, he is no longer a client of the Bank of Abuse. The Bank of Abuse also lost another member from that same focus group, a successful business owner who had never defaulted on a loan in his career. All of a sudden, the bank telephoned and called in all of his outstanding loans because the day before, a local newspaper had printed a notice that this millionaire entrepreneur was divorcing his wife. There are countless examples of critics who try to destroy the dreams of ambitious men and women. But critics are a necessary part of our social system in America. They screen out those who lack the courage and resolve to take criticisms and triumph in spite of them. Successful entrepreneurs tend to have extraordinary drive and resolve. A recently published article reported on the source of their motivation. See Adrienne Sanders, Success Secrets of the Successful, Forbes, November 2nd, 1998, pp. 22-24. Bill Bartman, founder and chairman of Commercial Financial Services, indicated in the article that his sister-in-law was a major motivating element because she was a critic of sorts. Her negative evaluation of him gave Mr. Bartman strong motivation to prove that she was wrong. He is quoted as saying, "She, the sister-in-law, didn't like me. I wasn't good enough for her sister. It absolutely infuriated me." Sanders, p. 22. It seems that Mr. Bartman was a high school dropout, but motivated by criticism from his sister-in-law, he received a GED and then went on To college. In college, he motivated himself to study by placing a 5x7-inch index card with the name of his sister-in-law on it on the wall. Whenever his head moved away from studying his lessons, he saw the name of his arch critic and was instantly motivated to get back to his books. In the same article, Deborah Stryker-Fine, president of Interactive Media, revealed her source of motivation. Her small-town neighbors thought that being a female entrepreneur was degrading. In turn, she was motivated by her strong desire to reject their evaluation of her and her vocation. Sanders, p. 24. The lesson of the Millionaire Mind is that you should be careful of whom you listen to, and be sensitive to the motives of so-called advisors. If you're ambitious and hardworking and your career is accelerating on an upward trend, you may be a threat to some people. Unfortunately, many of these same people are the very ones our young people rely on for career advice. So the majority of millionaires ignore their critics, and in addition, they never allow negative evaluations or forecasts to weaken their resolve. Ignoring the criticism of detractors is a significant correlate of economic success and career achievements. See Table 2 to 3. Keep one fact in mind. The successful population, regardless of intellect, is more heavily criticized than the unsuccessful. In fact, I believe that criticism is a necessary form of hazing, the tempering of steel, the boot camp for candidates wanting to succeed. Ask the typical millionaire today and he will probably have many boot camp experiences to relate. Table 2 to 3. Millionaires' success factors: superior intellect versus orientation toward critics. N equals 733. Successful people are different. They don't follow the crowd, and those who don't follow the crowd are often criticized for being different. The most productive professor I ever took a class from once told me just before I graduated, if you don't publish, you may not get tenure at a good school, but you will have a lot of friends. Publish a lot and you will not be real popular among your colleagues. Often success comes at the price of not being one of the gang, the good old boys. In fact, 3 out of 4 millionaires, 76%, report that learning to think differently from the crowd while they were in their formative years was an important influence in becoming productive adults in later life. Being different comes with rewards like economic success and punishments like criticisms and exclusions from social groups. A millionaire in one of my first interviews told me something about rejection. Never take rejection personally. Another gave me great advice. When you are criticized, wait 2 weeks before you get angry or upset. After 2 weeks, if you still wish to get angry, wait another 2 weeks. What if at the end of these 2 weeks, you still want to get angry? Write the critic a long letter. Spell out why you're interested in becoming angry. After all this time and the process of purging your concerns via letter writing, you may be cured of destructive anger. Chances are, you will not even feel the need to send the letter. P. Physically. C. Audition to. W. In. C. Oralate of. D. Disproving. C. Ridix. According to the survey, the majority of millionaires exercise regularly, although being physically fit ranks at number 20 on the list of success factors. See Table 2 to 1. Decamillionaires, those with net worth of $10 million or more, have the highest incidence of regular exercise. About 2/3 exercise regularly. Many of the others play golf or tennis, but not always on a regular basis. The more economically successful you become, the more critics you will attract. Keeping in excellent physical condition can be an important tool in dealing with detractors because it helps to hone one's competitive spirit. Many millionaires, especially decamillionaires, are extremely competitive and even welcome criticism. It gives them stronger motivation to prove that their critics were wrong in their assessments. Also, physical conditioning is one of the main sources of the extraordinary energy that most multimillionaires possess. I've found very few self-made millionaires who are lethargic or even noticeably overweight. Exhaustion and lethargy are friends of critics. So if you want To be able to ignore criticism or, even better, thrive on it, never allow yourself to get fat and lazy. Being physically fit is a significant underlying correlate of several other domains of success. Those who credit their willingness to take financial risk, see Chapter 4, are significantly more likely to be physically fit than risk avoiders. Physical fitness can also be a strong correlate of one's overall contentment, even affection for one's vocation. It's much easier to work hard if you love what you are doing, and the ability to work hard is, in turn, related to one's physical conditioning. Wealth does not have much meaning if you don't know how to enjoy your job, people, and diversions. And you can't get much out of your economic achievements if you die before your time, as did Mr. Powell, a multimillionaire. The executor of his estate recently returned a questionnaire that I'd addressed to Mr. Powell, with a note saying, Dr. Stanley, in spite of his wealth, Mr. Powell died recently. I. Integrity and M. Oral. V. Values. I personally examine every questionnaire that is completed by respondents, because some of the most important information comes in the form of handwritten comments and suggestions that are not part of the fill-in-the-blanks components of my surveys. These comments are written in margins, under other objective choices, and often in unexpected places. One character wrote his own added explanations all over the questionnaire. When asked to estimate what others thought of him, he wrote, fair and honest. He also wrote short notes next to each question about the experiences that influenced him. It indicated that his parents and one other major factor explained his economic success, 3 years in the U.S. Marines. What do factors such as being fair and honest and spending time in the Marine Corps have to do with becoming an economic success? The millionaire population contains a disproportionately high concentration of people who tell me that integrity is a critical factor in explaining their success. Being honest with all people was rated as a very important success factor by the large majority of millionaires. Another respondent indicated that he managed commercial real estate. When I read this and some of his related comments, I said to myself, I bet that this respondent, number 0103, circled very important when he was asked about the relative importance of one particular success factor. I was correct in my speculation. What factor was so very important in explaining his success as a manager of commercial real estate? Being honest with all people. This factor is so vital because integrity is a critical element of success. When one manages other people's property or money, respondent no. 0103 is not alone. This measure of integrity, being honest with all people, was tied for first in regard to the percent age of millionaires, who rated it as a very important reason for their economic success. See Table 2 to 4. Table 2 to 4. Millionaires' success factors, superior intellect vs. integrity or completeness, N equals 733. Unfortunately, today's headlines and news stories are full of reports about people in high places who lack integrity. Even President Bill Clinton suggested that his deceptive acts be placed in a box score context, implying that his overall batting average as president was good to terrific. Most economically successful people don't believe that integrity, or lack of it, can be averaged into one's overall grade point. Average. Let's see, that's an A for the economy? For foreign policy. 4. Domestic tranquility. 4. Enhancing social mandates, but an F4. Integrity. In college terms, that's enough to get by with a 2.6 GPA. But integrity is a different part of life's curriculum. It is a pass-or-fail course. If you lack integrity, most millionaires will tell you that you will not and should not graduate to economic success. What if a young up-and-coming business owner or physician just starting a practice deceives his customers or patients? What if a business owner misrepresents the products he offers? They fail Integrity 101, and they will never succeed or graduate without having integrity. Dr. Robert, age 45, is a case study in integrity. He had a thriving medical practice, but, unfortunately, This internist had a difficult time keeping his hands off his female assistants. He had numerous adulterous affairs with several members of his staff. Eventually, his wife discovered her husband's transgressions, and in short order, she divorced him. Even before the divorce decree was finalized, Dr. Roberts' wife joined a local support group for women in transition from being married to being divorced. Mrs. Robert detailed to the group members the adulterous behavior of her husband, with numerous case examples. Several fellow members were patients of Dr. Roberts, but they are no longer his patients today. Neither are the countless numbers of patients who heard about Dr. Roberts' deceit through the grapevine. At this time, Dr. Robert is also in transition. He is in the process of moving his office to another market area. 15 squared. Integrity is defined in Webster's as firm adherence to a code of especially moral values, incorruptibility. People with integrity know the difference between right and wrong, between the truth and fabrication. The survey shows that most economically productive people value integrity highly and credit it for their success. John Barry is the owner of a successful real estate management firm and a man of great integrity. He built the business from ground zero. Most of his clients are owners of shopping centers, and John's firm is responsible for managing these properties. The firm does everything from collecting rent to hiring contractors when repairs or renovations are required. To make such repairs, John hires contractors who provide the best products and services for the most competitive prices. It sounds easy, but it's not always a simple process. John goes out of his way to ensure that his clients receive the best deal for their dollars. John documents his fiduciary responsibility at every step in the process of selecting and directing contractors. Integrity and the reputation that goes along with it are extremely important elements that underlie his success. John told me that his father, a rather famous and successful manager of talent in the entertainment business, taught him much about integrity. He often told his son, "Never lie. Never tell one lie. If you tell one lie, you will have to eventually tell 15 more to cover up the first lie." According to John's dad, one lie requires a cover of 15 more. In turn, each of these 15 requires 15 more, or 225 lies. Furthermore, each of the 225 lies next requires 15 more. Now we are at 225 times 15, or 3,375 lies. Again, 3,375 times 15 equals 50,625. And so on. It is a much more productive use of one's time, energy, and intelligence to always tell the truth, to be honest with all people. Integrity and the reputation that goes along with it are extremely important elements that underlie his success. John told me that his father, a rather famous and successful manager of talent in the entertainment business, taught him much about integrity. He often told his son, "Never lie. Never tell one lie. If you tell one lie, you will have to eventually tell 15 more to cover up the first lie." According to John's dad, one lie requires a cover of 15 more. In turn, each of these 15 requires 15 more, or 225 lies. Furthermore, each of the 225 lies next requires 15 more. Now we are at 225 times 15, or 3,375 lies. Again, 3,375 times 15 equals 50,625. And so on. It is a much more productive use of one's time, energy, and intelligence to always tell the truth, to be honest with all people.